It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of Nigerian newspapers. And I begin with the Daily Trust. The major story here says, bandits kill 62 in Sokoto, Zamfara villages. Bandits kill 62 in Sokoto, Zamfara villages. You'll find all the details on the front page of the Daily Trust. We move on quickly now to this Nigeria newspaper. Subsidy. NLC absent as federal government TUC maintain hardline positions. Subsidy. NLC absent, that's the Nigeria Labour Congress, as federal government trade union Congress maintain hardline positions. And some riders here revert to old farm price of PMS TUC demands. Government promises to set up tripartite committee on minimum wage review. You'll find all the details on the front page of this Nigeria newspaper. And to the front page of the Blueprint now, as subsidy crisis deepens, federal government woos trade union Congress after deadlock with organized labor. Federal government woos TUC after deadlock with organized labor. And some riders now, union seeks reversal of pump price, new minimum wage, parties meet Tuesday. Serap threatens legal action over missing $2.1 billion, 3.1 trillion naira payments of subsidy that has been made over time. You find all the details on the front page of the Blueprint. To the Leadership newspaper, and still talking about the fuel subsidy removal. Subsidy should go, but its impact must be managed swiftly. Subsidy should go, but its impact must be managed swiftly. That's the stand of the Leadership newspaper. You find all the details on the front page of the Leadership newspaper. Ibrahim.
Now the papers with me here are first the Abuja Inquirer, which reads, the kicker reads, fuel subsidy removal. FCT residents recount ordeal, and the rider reads, federal government, Labour meet again. Fuel subsidy removal, FCT residents recount ordeal. That's the Abuja Inquirer. First News is next. Subsidy, no going back on Wednesday's strike. NLC insists. No going back on Wednesday's strike. NLC insists. That's according to First News. The next newspaper, Nigerian News Direct, has it as its screaming headline here as 500 naira per litre PMS. NLC, Serap seek probe of 8 years fuel subsidy payments. NLC, Serap seek probe of 8 years fuel subsidy payments. That's the Nigerian News Direct. Nature News is next. World Environment Day. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Seaway, Nestle, top plastic waste contributors in Nigeria. World Environment Day. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Seaway, Nestle, top plastic waste contributors in Nigeria. That's a cause for concern there. National economy is next. Rivers, 15 other new state governors battle 2.9 trillion naira debts. Rivers, 15 other new state governors battle 2.9 trillion naira debts. That's national economy. Business Day. Nigeria's oil revenue at risk as OPEC cuts output. Nigeria's oil revenue at risk as OPEC cuts output. That's Business Day. And last but not the least, here is Business AM. Analysts feast on Tinubu's inaugural, positive in outlook. Analysts feast on Tinubu's inaugural, positive in outlook. That's Business AM. Veronica.
Right, Ibrahim, let's look at this issue that has been on the front burner since the president made his inaugural speech talking about fuel subsidy removal and the tussle between the federal government and organized labor. Right. Yesterday, there was a meeting with organized labor, but it was only TUC, that was a trade union Congress, that was present. Mm-hmm. And NLC was absent, obviously absent, and because they had said that they are going on strike on Wednesday,
Correct.
there are those who believe that they calling for a strike is their final resort after they have negotiated with government and they are not seeing a headway. They decide to go on strike because they believe that that's the only language that government understands. But TUC went ahead, right, to have that conversation with the federal government, and it maintained its stance, saying that, you know what, for the matter of social dialogue, government should revert to the initial pump price while conversation is ongoing, and then they can, come to a reasonable conclusion and solution, because they had presented their demands to the government, which is also a matter of looking into the minimum wage.
Yeah.
And they are still having that conversation because they are to also meet tomorrow.
Yeah, so it's just unfortunate that I saw some media organizations also reporting as Tinubu removes fuel subsidy. But then this was something that actually been done by the last administration. It's only a confirmation to what we already knew that fuel subsidy won't be there. But the problem there is the NLC not willing to have a conversation on this other than to resort to strike. It's not all the time we go
They
on
had
strike.
had a conversation with government.
The conversation needs to continue. That is the reason why some other critics are reading, other meanings to it. That this appears to be political. That you already are aware that
subsidy was going to be removed.
We've been shouting, this, for the past more than 10 years. That it's been sinking. It's like subsidizing other countries where this fuel, this petrol, is shipped to. So if you subsidize, where is the money going into? We need to use this money for other things. Fine, it's understandable that, we were just talking about the, when you tanked up this morning and then you saw the price.
Dashboard, yeah.
The dashboard, and it appeared that it didn't move after spending like 8,000 naira. We understand that. We may not really feel the impact as much, but
I am feeling it too.
I said as much.
I am feeling it.
It doesn't mean, saying that doesn't mean I'm moneyed. I'm only saying that as much, compared to other people on the street, those who live from hand to mouth, how are they going to survive? So it's fine that they revert to the old price. I actually advocate that they should revert to the old price, because they still have up until June before this takes effect.
Now, that's the issue for NLC, that they feel that they are being ambushed in the conversation, because the conversation was supposed to begin, and then NNPCL came out with a pricing that showed an increase, and saying that it was based on market forces.
Right.
Now you know that the product on the ground, as we speak, is covered by fuel subsidy until the end of June. Why are you coming forward with a pricing template when we are having a conversation? So NLC felt they are being ambushed. And so it's seeming like the conversation or the negotiation is not being transparent enough. That is from their stance, I am assuming. Because if you are saying that, okay, let us have a conversation, why are you coming up with a pricing list? Why didn't you wait till the end of June, when the fuel subsidy will be over? Then at that space between the 1st of June and before the end of June, something would have been on the table for the workers, for the average Nigerian, because everyone is feeling the pinch. We are talking about over 100 million Nigerians in multidimensional poverty, and this matter of fuel subsidy is on the table. That is the issue for them, and that is what the TUC is also saying. Let us revert to what the prices were before you brought about this increment, this pricing template, so that we can have that conversation. We all will be on the same page with everyone, because we understand the attendant impact. We're talking about a minimum wage of 30,000 naira.
Correct.
We're talking about the fact that rice is said to be at about 45,000 naira. A lot of persons cannot afford that.
Absolutely.
So if we are even talking about a review of the minimum wage, how much are we looking at?
That's the thing.
If we are talking about a minimum wage review, how are we going to ensure that every Nigerian benefits from whatever the government is doing. That is the conversation, because everyone is affected. We know how things are. The moment there is an increase in pump price,
it affects everything.
The price of food items increase.
Effect.
The price of transportation has increased. A lot of Nigerians are groaning. In fact, there were stories of persons who went for the inauguration saying that they couldn't they couldn't return because the prices they budgeted for had skyrocketed. No, so it's just divergent. So that is what
rent also increased, and you'll be wondering,
what has that got to do with the pump price?
You ask your landlord, why are you increasing rent? They say, well, price of fuel has gone up. So market forces, So it's just one thing that this current administration needs to. They are dialoguing. We believe that they'll make a headway. But the fact that NNPCL just rushed to release a price, pricing template. It's not really good enough. They should allow this conversation to reach a logical conclusion and make Nigerians are actually advocating removal of this subsidy.
Of course,
they want health sector to grow. They want infrastructure development to also be seen as tangible enough. They want a lot of development in different sectors. But then, do you want to cut off our neck to spite? Cut off the nose to spite his face,
yes.
Or you want to put us into the ocean and we are not able to, find our ways. We are not able to swim this tide. So it's very important. That's one leg. The other leg is what Nigerian News Direct is saying: 500 naira per liter PMS. NLC Serap seek probe of ATS fuel subsidy payments. That's another thing. Accountability, because how have they expended this money? At the point they said we were consuming, I think, about 30 million liters per day. Another point in time they said we are consuming about 60 million liters per day. That's when the Senate President said, listen, this is not possible. Are we drinking it? Are we bathing with it? How possible is it that we are consuming as much as this this volume? It's not possible. So I think a lot of probe, they should look into, this current administration should look into how they have expended the payment of subsidy, So that's one thing.
Those who are beneficiaries of fuel subsidy should be called to question. That's what some cross-section of Nigerians are talking about. And the fact that the NNPCL is saying that they do not have data on the consumption of fuel in the country is questionable, because you are the sole, the major importer of fuel, and then you distribute to every other marketer, and you're saying you do not have data, so to speak, is also questionable. And so some Nigerians are calling for NNPCL to be part of the probe. If anything like that would happen, to be part of the probe, NNPCL should be called to question. How has this been going on? Because at some point, NNPCL did not, give some monies back to the coffers of government, talking about they not making enough money. Yes, there was no remittance to the coffers of government, saying they did not make monies. How is that even possible? Those are the questions on the lips of Nigerians.
A lot of fraudulent activities.
How do we check the corruption in this space? Because that is what also the president spoke about, I think, on Thursday when he met with security chiefs and some key persons, talking about addressing oil theft and all of it. It is obvious the direction that this administration wants to go with regards to the sector, to ensure some level of sanity and that Nigerians can benefit from the dividends of democracy, the dividends of having oil in our country. But then we know that there are loopholes that has to be blocked. We know that there's corruption. As much as we want to block the loopholes, we should also check the matter of corruption, bring persons to book, so that they answer for what has gone on over the years, and we do not continue in this trajectory, which is very important.
A lot of things, are there on the ground, on the table for this current administration to really tackle headlong, to ensure that Nigerians really benefit the dividends of democracy, as you've said. Oil theft, you need to ask the traditional rulers too. How are they doing this? These are your territories. How do we have some vessels coming in not making sure that they are trackable. What's the word? The AIS, automated identification system, they turn it off so that they won't be traced. Still oil and then,
all talking about.
so it's like we have oil everywhere, but none to use.
Well, the bottom line is we hope that, because we hear there's going to be a meeting tomorrow, continuation of conversation with the TUC and some other key stakeholders. We hope that Wednesday the strike would not happen. We are hoping that an agreement is reached between the government and organized labor, such that Nigerians can get some respite. So if we have that strike, it is not going to be funny at all.